Hey, Cancers, welcome to your October forecast, October astrology horoscope. October is intense. It's eclipse season. If after watching this video you feel like, hey, I want to talk to Amelia personally, I want to schedule an eclipse reading so I know exactly what this eclipse means for me, then I left the booking link down in the description box for you. Keep in mind there are limited spots available. I'm only doing 10 of these, so grab them as soon as you can. We start off with a bang. Between October 2nd and 4th, we have Mars conjunct the South Node in your 4th house, and Venus is sextiling them from your 2nd house. So if there have been any tendencies to keep yourself safe, to keep yourself warm and cozy, and not to go after the big scary things out there in the world, to go and meet people that you don't know, to put yourself out there, this is going to become really apparent in the month of October. So if you have a tendency to stay at home, you have a tendency to play yourself small and not to do the big scary things out there in the rest of the world, then on October 2nd to the 4th, you might start to feel a little bit resentful and a little bit angry regarding this. You might start to feel some fire being lit under your butt to do something differently. And during the summer, you've had a big lesson with Venus in your 2nd house. You've had a big lesson around your self-esteem and around your resources. So see if anything that you learned during the summer can really support you during this time. Tap into these things you learned about who you truly are and where your self-worth comes from, so that you have the confidence to step out into the world and do something that feels uncomfortable. And sorry to tell you, but later it does not get easier. Mars continues to transit through Libra, gets at the final degrees of Libra, and starts to square Pluto in Capricorn. And at the same time, Venus is finally leaving Leo, entering Virgo in your 3rd house. And as it does that, it opposes Saturn in your 9th house. So during this time, you're really being asked to take a look at all of the old beliefs you have that you really need the support of somebody to help you do something. Having Pluto in the 7th house, you might have been learning the last 20 years that you can do things on your own, that you do not need to be dependent on somebody else. And this might be one of the final times that you get faced with this tendency again, to see if you can really come through on the other side. With Saturn in your 9th house, the next 2 years, you're really learning to also step away from structures, to step away from organizations, to step away from using the crutch of education to hold yourself back from really stepping out into the world. And instead, again, I would encourage you, use that self-esteem, use that beautiful communication to really stand out and say to others what it is that you want. And then we have the big crescendo on the 14th of October. We have a solar eclipse in Libra. So we have the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, and Mars all in Libra. They will be loosely trining Saturn in Pisces and loosely squaring Pluto in Capricorn. So if you've been slacking in the first half of October, you've sort of been shoving the things that have been coming up under the rug, being like, I'll deal with them later. On the solar eclipse, they will come at you again, and they will come at you stronger so that you cannot ignore them anymore. So I would just encourage you during this eclipse season, you can do it. You have the confidence. You do not need to rely on others. Step away from your comfortable cocoon and go ahead into the big wide world and do something scary and something exciting. Later in the month, on the 21st, the Sun is slowly closing off its time in Libra. And as it does that, it also squares Pluto. So as all the planets are sort of moving out of Libra and into Scorpio, they each hit Pluto on their way out. But the 21st will be a little bit more gentle, and this is because of the aspect between Venus and Jupiter. So Venus in your 3rd will be trining Jupiter in your 11th house. This is one of the first times in the month that we really have Jupiter as part of this conversation. So, being in your 11th house, this might be a really good time to see if you can tap into the why behind why you're doing these big and scary things out into the big wide world, the bigger mission and vision that you have for yourself. And if you're able to tap into that, into these long term goals that you have for yourself, you might find that this is aiding you in stepping away from your comfy cocoon. 2 days later, the sun finishes its transit through Libra and enters Scorpio on the 23rd. As it does that, it closes its square to Pluto and starts to hit its trine to Saturn. So during this day, you might again be really faced with being realistic and mature about all the support that organizations and education can bring to you. Don't step into the trap of thinking that, oh, I'm not there yet. I just need another degree. I just need a little bit more help. I just need to be associated with this particular organization to achieve my goal. It's a bit of a test, and I want to make sure that you succeed with it. We finally have a little bit of a break, but not for too long, because on the 28th, we have a lunar eclipse in Taurus. So the Sun, Mercury, and Mars are in Scorpio in your 5th house, and we have the Moon and Jupiter in your 11th house. So use this beautiful energy of your goals, your firm why, your firm motivation for where you want to be in 10, 20 years from now, and try to see if you can bring a little bit more pleasure and a little bit more fun into the everyday in order to get you there. Just because you're going out and doing scary things doesn't mean that life has to be a drag. See if you can mix some pleasures and some comforts in there while still sticking to your long-term plan. And finally, we close off the month on the 31st with Venus in your 3rd house, trining Uranus in your 11th. So there might have been a lot of ups and downs as to what is even your long-term vision. Where do you even see yourself in 10 years? For the last a long time, Uranus has been in Taurus for a while. You have really been thinking like, yeah, what do I really want? Where do I really want to go? So you're closing off the month with really thinking about how you can communicate this vision to others. We have the beautiful planet of Venus in your house of communication. So don't be afraid to take a look if you can share with others some of these ideas that you might be having about your long-term goals, and see if anybody can help you along the way and maybe give you some fresh ideas as well. And that's all of October. If that wasn't enough for you, that's all of it. There is no more. You got this, Cancer. I think there's some beautiful energy for you here to really step out of your cocoon. Do not be afraid. You can do it. And again, after listening to this, if you're like, hey, I would really just like to have more of a chat, let's talk about what this means for me personally, I am doing 30-minute one-on-one personalized eclipse readings. You can book them down in the description box below. There's a limited spot. Make sure you get them as soon as possible. I do these forecasts every month. If you want to make sure you catch November, then make sure you subscribe. And I hope to see you again soon.